Welcome back, Sebastian here. I did the video earlier this morning just giving the breaking news about De Vries being fired and being replaced by Daniel Ricciardo starting from the Hungarian Grand Prix. But I wanted to take a deeper look at Nick De Vries' single-seater career and his junior career, and kind of a deeper dive at how we got here. How did Nick De Vries end up basically ending his career so prematurely, basically being fired halfway through the season? So I wanted to start looking at Formula 2. Of course, he drove in GP3 and other series before that, but realistically, F2 or GP2 is really the first series that really matters, and is the one that has the most, where the teams take the most consideration when deciding who to promote to F1, unless, of course, your name is Max Verstappen or you have very thick wallets like Lawrence Stroll. So 2017's first season in Formula 2, 7th in the championship, 114 points, 1 sprint race win, and 5 podiums. So pretty solid debut season, racing for both the racing engineering team and then switching mid-season driving for Rapax. He was the second rookie of the 4 rookies in that season, so he was of course behind eventual championship winner Charles Leclerc. But interestingly, he was actually ahead of Alex Albon, current Williams driver. 2018 second season Formula 2, he finishes 4th, 202 points, 2 feature race wins, 1 sprint race win, and 6 podiums. This year driving for Prema, one of the best teams in Formula 2. And of the year 2 drivers, of course, there's only 3 of them left because Leclerc graduated to Formula 1. He finished 2nd, but this time behind Albon. So rookie year finished ahead of Albon, second year finished behind Albon. And you know, this is kind of where it was like he had a good second year, but it wasn't fantastic. It was slower than 2 rookies in Russell and Norris, and of course finished behind Albon as well. And this is kind of where people thought, okay, no chance of Formula 1. And I believe this is also the point where he basically formally cut ties with the McLaren Racing Academy that they had, because he was a member of that academy for a while. So he stays on for a 3rd year Formula 2, finishes 1st in the championship, 266 points, 3 feature race wins, 1 sprint race win, 12 podiums, drive this year driving for ART. And of course, that was his championship year, very good year, was very, very good in qualifying, and the races were a little bit less great, but still pretty good. And 2nd in the championship that year was, of course, future Williams driver Nicholas Latifi. And I remember I watched a good deal of Formula 2 in that year, that 2019. And from that, and from reading what other people have wrote about De Vries, who watched those previous years, you know, his qualifying form was always very good, and his form, I would say, was Formula 1 level. But he always struggled with Pirelli tires and never really had the race pace needed to be a successful Formula 1 driver. So 2019, obviously as champion, he can't return, so he goes over to Formula E, driving for the Mercedes team all 3 years of his Formula E career. 2020, his first year, he finishes 11th in the championship, 60 points, no wins, and 1 podium, which came in the last race of the season. His teammate, Stoffel van Dorn, former McLaren Formula 1 driver, finished 2nd that year, 87 points. So 27 points behind his teammate, not a terrible rookie year. 2021, 1st in the championship, 99 points, 2 wins, 4 podiums. Again, his teammate was Van Dorn, who finished 9th with 82 points. So he finished 17 points ahead of his teammate, and of course, Formula E champion. And this is kind of where people started to say, oh, he should be in Formula 1, maybe he should be promoted. You know, maybe he should have been promoted after his title in 2019, because he was Formula 2 champion and Formula E champion now. But for those of you who don't watch Formula E, and I watch, you know, quite a good deal of Formula E, I put asterisks both for the 2020 and 21 season, because those years, basically the qualifying format was a negative feedback loop. So if you were really high in the championship, you would have to qualify first, basically, and you would often start at the back. And so basically it was a constant negative feedback loop where the drivers would basically go in circles in the championship, and the championship was extremely closely packed together. However, there was a lot of complaints from fans, and they eventually dropped it in favor of a much more traditional format, the duels format that we have now. and that's much fairer. It's different than Formula One's qualifying format, but it's close. And that year, 2022, the first year of that format, he finishes 9th in the championship, 106 points. So he actually has 7 more points in his championship winning season, but finishes 9th in the championship instead of first, just showing how strong that negative feedback loop was in the previous system. 2 wins, 3 podiums. His teammate Van Dorn, though, won the championship, 213 points, 107 points more, and he had 1 win and 8 podiums. So a very, very good season from Van Dorn that year. And right after the Formula 2 season finished, his team Mercedes were leaving Formula E and he didn't have a contract. But the rumor was he was going to be signing with the Maserati team and drive this year in Formula E. But then came the 2022 Italian Grand Prix. De Vries had been basically a test and reserve driver for most of the Mercedes powered cars in 2022. And Alex Albon suddenly gets appendicitis, the Italian Grand Prix. So De Vries is called into action, promoted to Williams basically for a one-off race. In qualifying, he qualifies P13, Latifi qualifies P16. And he out-qualified Latifi by 0.02 seconds, so 2/100ths of a second, so very, very close. But many drivers were taking grid penalties this race because it's Monza. Generally, it's one of the tracks where teams take those engine penalties. So he actually ended up starting P8. And he, of course, went on to finish P9 in the race and get 2 F1 points on his debut. So pretty impressive debut overall. But that being said, Latifi was absolutely destroyed by Albon that year. And that close qualifying gap in combination with it being Monza, a track that was supposed to be extremely well suited to the Williams. And there was definitely questions about how good would Albon have, how well would Albon have done if he had done that race. So that being said, though, really good result in his F1 debut. And about a month later, it's announced he would sign with AlphaTauri for 2023, replacing Pierre Gasly, who was let go and then signed with Alpine. So 2023, I've arranged it a little differently than the other one. So I think in Formula 1, especially in comparison to the junior series like Formula 2, your comparison with your teammate is very, very important. So I've put De Vries here and then Tsunoda here at the bottom. So through 10 races so far, De Vries 20th in the championship, Tsunoda 17th. 0 points for De Vries and 2 for Tsunoda. 0 points for De Vries, 2 for Tsunoda. In qualifying head-to-head, it's 8-2 in favor of Tsunoda. And one of those was that was for De Vries was Spain, where basically Tsunoda had a track limit deletion, and that contributed to about it was a 4/10 in the end with that track limit solution. Of course, you have to keep it in the white lines, but still I thought it was important to note down, especially given how skewed this ratio is in favor of Tsunoda. And the overall average qualifying gap was 0.223, so which isn't terrible in favor of Tsunoda. But that being said, Tsunoda was generally much, much better in qualifying. And in the races, I also wanted to put down average finishing position because this is generally a pretty good metric to look at, especially for lower midfield teams where points are much more hard to get by. And for Tsunoda, his average finishing position was 13.2, whereas De Vries was 15.5. So that's a difference of about 2.3, which is quite a considerable margin. And it's almost, I think, for the record, it's almost twice as big as the average finishing position margin between Tsunoda and Gasly last year. So I think it just goes to show that, overall, from both qualifying and the race, Tsunoda has been much better than De Vries this year. I think another thing that I think that's also important for context, this year, as of today, De Vries is 28 years old and Tsunoda is 23. And De Vries has been racing single-seaters since 2012, and Tsunoda has been racing them since 2017. He had a couple one-off races in Japanese Formula 4 in 2016. That being said, you can see that De Vries' single-seater career is much, much longer than Tsunoda's. And so I think that's why we've gotten to the point that we're at now. Tsunoda, or De Vries, is not a traditional rookie like most of the other 2 rookies on the grid. He's much older, he's 28 years old. He's going to be much closer to his peak as a driver. And because he has so many more years of single-seater experience, of course not Formula 1 experience, Red Bull aren't treating him like a traditional rookie. And I think that's really kind of how we've gotten to this point. He hasn't impressed in either qualifying in the races. He has no points, and he's made quite a few mistakes, including several crashes in Azerbaijan, Austria, where he crashed into Magnussen, Canada, where he crashed into Magnussen as well. So I think that's all I really want to say for this video. You know, I think he's very lucky to have given the chance that he gets. Most Formula One drivers, they only spend 1 to 2 years in the junior categories before they're promoted. And of course, he was champion in his 3rd year, which I think is also probably not a great sign for drivers like Dragovic, who won in his 3rd year last year, or Pourchaire, who's currently in contention to win in his 3rd year this year. And for De Vries, I'm not sure what's next. I don't really see him ever getting another chance in Formula One, except on a one-off basis like last year. In the future, maybe he could go back to Formula E, or maybe he goes back to sports cars, because I know he was doing some endurance racing on the side last year, last couple of years as well. So that's all for this video, just taking a look at Nick De Vries' career and how we got to this point this year, and just giving kind of my thoughts and my opinion on the whole situation. I do think it's a bit rough for him, of course, to be dropped mid-season without any kind of, formal goodbye. But that's how Red Bull does things. They've always been very cutthroat. They've done it. They've showed it time and time again throughout their history that they're not afraid to drop drivers and chop and change drivers even mid-season. So that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please like the video if you enjoyed, and please subscribe if you want to see more. Of course, I'll be covering Formula One all the rest of the season and beyond in the future. So if you want to keep watching and see more content, please do that. Goodbye. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.